We all have that digital megaphone, right? Facebook, Instagram, X, it's our personal stage to broadcast pretty much everything. Our wins, our frustrations, you name it. But what happens when that so-called free expression actually starts to cause real-world harm? That's the tricky tightrope we're going to walk today.
It's my profile, I'll write what I want. I mean, how many times have you heard that? Or, let's be honest, maybe even thought it yourself. It's a really powerful feeling, isn't it? That sense of total ownership over your little corner of the internet. And that single idea, well, it's right at the heart of what we're talking about today. That constant tug of war between our freedom and our responsibility.
So, it really just boils down to this one question, doesn't it? When you hit that post button, are you actually adding something to the conversation, or are you just throwing more noise, maybe even a little bit of poison into the mix? Every single word we type helps build who we are online, so let's really dig into the impact of what we're creating.
All right, so let's get into our first section, one post, one case. To really see how high the stakes can get, we're going to move past all the theory and look at a real story. Because believe me, sometimes a few thoughtless words typed out online can have absolutely life-altering consequences.
So I want you to meet Vinod. He's just 19 years old, totally full of passion, and he wants his voice to be heard online, you know? He's fired up about a particular policy, and he's got this burning desire to do something big. He wants to be seen as a hero, a kind of revolutionary in his online circle. And that feeling, I think a lot of us can probably relate to that.
And you won't believe how quickly it all came crashing down. It all started with just one impulse. Vinod goes and posts some really offensive words, some provocative photos, and at first, he gets that instant hit of validation, a flood of likes from people who totally agree with him. But here's the thing, the post didn't just stay in his little online bubble. It started to seep out, creating actual tension in a city. Before he knew it, the authorities were involved. He was arrested under the IT Act. Just like that. He went from revolutionary to in police custody in just 4 simple steps.
And this is the critical distinction. See, in Vinod's mind, he was just using his freedom of expression. But in the eyes of the law, oh, he crossed a major line. His post wasn't just seen as criticism. It was officially defined as hate speech. That means it was a direct attack on a whole group of people just based on who they are. And that's not a debate, right? That's incitement.
The fallout for him was, well, devastating. The hero he dreamed of being. He was now labeled a criminal. That one single impulsive post left a permanent stain on his record, something that could haunt his career for years. And it wasn't just about him. His actions brought a whole lot of shame and distress to his entire family. That is the real cost of just a few moments of anger typed out online.
All right, our next section is called Rules of Your Wall. Look, Vinod's story is a huge cautionary tale. So the big question is, how do we avoid making those same mistakes? Let's talk about some ground rules we can set for ourselves in our own digital spaces to stop this kind of thing from ever happening.
Okay, this right here is probably one of the most important things to get. There's a very thin line between criticism and insult. Think of it this way. Criticism attacks an idea. An insult attacks a person. You can totally disagree with a policy or an idea, and you can do it with passion, but you use logic, you use respect. The second you start throwing around personal abuse, well, you're not debating anymore. You're just burning bridges.
So here's a super practical 5-step guide to being a responsible digital citizen. Step 1. Check the facts. Don't just post based on a headline or some half-baked info. Step 2. Watch your language. You can be passionate without being profane or launching personal attacks. Step 3. Argue with logic. I mean, anybody can be a troll. It takes real smarts to build a solid argument. Step 4. Respect other people's feelings. Seriously, never post stuff that you know is going to hurt religious or social sentiments. And finally, Step 5. Be the change. Try to use your platform to inspire and create something positive, not just to spread anger.
And here's something you absolutely have to remember. That delete button, it's kind of an illusion. Even after you hit delete, a digital ghost of that post can hang around on a server somewhere for years. It's just waiting to be dug up. The internet, you guys, it almost never forgets.
So moving on to our final section, your words, your legacy. And this is so important because this whole thing goes way beyond just, staying out of trouble. It's really about what you're building online. Every single post, every comment is like a brick you're using to build your digital identity.
At the end of the day, it's this simple. Your online voice is your identity. For a lot of people out there, it might be the main way they know you. It's a direct reflection of who you are, what you value. And that's exactly why it is so critical to use it with care.
And just imagine for a second,
what if we all actually committed to this? What would that look like? Well, we'd see way less misinformation and fewer crazy rumors. We'd have more healthy, constructive debates. We would help create online spaces where people actually feel safe instead of constantly under attack. We could literally start building a digital world that's based on respect instead of rage.
So, I'm just going to leave you with this final thought. This challenge, it's for everyone everywhere. Can we, as individuals, make a conscious choice to make our little corner of the internet just a little bit better? Can we decide to build things up instead of tearing them down? To create dialogue instead of more division? The power to change the whole conversation is quite literally at our fingertips. And you know what? It starts with your very next post.
एक कदम विकसित भारत की ओर